storytelling makes us better communicators. If you're going and just delivering technical specifications and data or using a lot of insider language that doesn't resonate with your target audience, then it's going to be really hard to engage with folks.
So I'm super excited today to have Glenn Hanner on. He's a previous client of mine. He's an executive marketing leader in medical devices. We've worked together on a number of projects in the past.
Make it emotional and talk to your audience. If you're not talking to your audience, how do you expect to speak their language and be able to provide them something that is solving an issue or problem that they have?
And today we're going to be looking at some critical skills you need in product marketing in life sciences, specifically around positioning in copywriting and communicating your value.
Copywriting might seem like something junior. I happen to think it's one of the most important parts that a marketer does. Words matter, what we say matters, what we write down matters. If I go and write only one sentence about a product, that's maybe the only sentence they're going to see and hear about your company, your brand, the service you're offering, everything.
Welcome to LifeSci Continuum. Let's go. Appreciate you hopping on with me today. Tell me a little bit about your background. How'd you get into life sciences?
Yeah. Well, first, thank you for having me. Very happy to be here. And I've always enjoyed working with you and the whole Mesh team. And my journey into life sciences was probably like a lot of folks, maybe accidental. I finished up school in 2007. And for anyone who was working at that time, I don't know how young folks are listening to this, but there was a recession. And so work was hard to find. Everyone I knew was either going back to grad school or just searching for work. I got very lucky and found a startup nearby. They were looking to hire essentially cheap college labor. And so I started working there in their R&D lab. I had some lab experience from school. I started working there. Wasn't really enjoying the lab work as much. And one day I got to go with one of the marketing folks out to a hospital and talk with end users, with patients. And it was invigorating. It energized me. I liked it so much. I essentially didn't go back to the lab. And a opportunity came up internally to hire an entry-level marketing position. So I went for it. They're like, he already knows the product. We just have to teach him the other 50% of the job, the marketing. And so that's how I got my start in the life sciences and medtech marketing. Very accidental, but that was about 16 years ago. So here I am today.
That's great. What do you think it was that was interesting to you or invigorating about marketing over or maybe working in the lab?
Yeah, I think in the lab, you kind of get these blinders on. You get so technology focused, so data driven, right? You are really into, the really fun, but also geeky aspects of a technology or a program that you want to roll out, right? And for me, it was being able to connect this is how it's used. This is truly who's using it. This is the impact, the results that we're getting with it. A lot of times I think R&D folks don't actually get that type of exposure. They don't get to see the real world impact of something that they're working on. And so once I got to see that and see the human and the emotional connection, to me, that's when the light really turned on.
Tell me a little bit about some of the experiences that you've had. Maybe paint with a broad brush some of the marketing roles that you've had over the years.
Yeah, of course. And starting in R&D and then going into marketing, I do want to say that transition, when I went, there was something I pulled that was very valuable, I think, out of R&D. And that was the importance of pulling in the voice of customer into development. And that's something until I went into transition to marketing that I hadn't quite realized. You always hear of folks who are incredibly innovative, develop new products, new technology, and they're so excited and anxious to get it out in market. And then you end up, having a technology in search of a problem versus the other way around, which is what I think all marketers would prefer. So that was just something I thought was very important for me to draw out of the whole R&D experience as I went into my first marketing role, which was Marcom. So a lot of marketing communications, conferences, education events, direct mail. And that's basically what I did for the first third of my career. I'd characterize the second part really as my product management phase. And so owner of a total revenue stream. And that's really where I dove much deeper into positioning, messaging, market segmentation, sales tactics, all of the, kind of bread and butter of upstream and downstream marketing. And that was really, really eye-opening for me because that's a role within a company where you get exposure to essentially every component of the business, right? Regulatory, operations, logistics, everything just kind of gets pulled in, finance. So that was an incredibly educational and valuable part of my career. And then after that, getting into more senior roles, it's been a lot of fun taking that marketing communications and product management experience and then bringing that into how do I develop strategy, go to market strategy, commercialization, and think kind of broader, big strokes.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you for sharing that. Take a step back to what you mentioned on voice of customer.
Mm-hmm.
You said that's something that you pulled with you sort of out of that lab experience. Talk about that, because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like it's hit or miss with a lot of scientists and engineers. How are you connecting voice of customer there? What was your experience?
My experience was that a lot of folks, and I'm generalizing, which I know is never never a good idea, but a lot of folks in R&D were very excited and focused in on some of the very specific technical aspects of something. Look at how precise we deliver X, Y, and Z, or look at this great feature that we came up with that does, so they get really focused on that and lose the thread of why that matters. They got really into explaining how it works, but when you go in and talk to someone, I remember sitting and being in front of clinicians, and they didn't care how, the mechanistics really worked on the inside. They wanted to know what was the result and how it can benefit them or their patients or any target audience. So for me, the connection became real during that initial visit, right? And as I've gone through my career, I've always kept it front of mind where no matter what I'm going to commercialize, what I'm going to roll out, go talk to the target stakeholders first, because they're the ones who's you're offering them a solution for an issue or problem that they have, right? And if you don't go talk to them, capture their voice, and make sure that that's all brought into development, then you're kind of whatever your solution is going to be mismatched to whatever they're looking for a solution for. So to me, that's really something that it's surprising how many people forget it, especially in early startups where it's like, well, have you gone out and talked to folks? It's like, no, we've been so involved in development, verification, validation testing, regulatory things, that they forget one of the most important things as to why they're building something is to go and have a solution that solves a problem.
We actually see that a lot where a company will reach a certain stage, and the technology will have wooed a certain level of buyer.
Yeah.
Maybe, if we're looking at, like a SaaS analogy, it's your early adopters, but they're not typical. They're not your typical user who may be more ingrained in their ways or more conservative in their decision making. I think it's important to maybe dig into that a little bit, because for a lot of people, until they see the proof, and for them, proof is lack of sales,
Mm-hmm.
understanding the needs of the market and the voice of the customer may not be a priority or may not feel relevant to them. Have you
Yeah.
seen that in application or in real life? Do you have a story you can share about that?
I can think of a couple examples. There was definitely early or maybe middle career. There was a company I worked for who had okay market, traction, but it was early, and they were certainly had captured a lot of those folks, like you mentioned, like that crossing the chasm parabola, right? Those early adopters at the very end, those innovators. They certainly captured those folks who were interested in more of the technical aspects and kind of, like you said, were wooed by the technology. And then they kind of run ground, right? They hit a stopping point. They're like, oh my gosh, how do I get past this? I feel like I'm just spinning my wheels in the mud and we're not growing revenue. A lot of times I feel like it's because they've lost that, they didn't have that voice of the customer to begin with, or they lost it because they became so confident in themselves that, no, this is working. At the end of the day, you show folks data and technical specifications. That's not a story. And I had a mentor of mine very early on give me some advice. Best Story Wins, which is also a book by an author named Mark Edwards, that I recommend folks check out. And the whole kind of core of that is that storytelling makes us better communicators because it ties in an emotional aspect. And if you're going and just delivering technical specifications and data, or using a lot of insider language that doesn't resonate with your target audience, then it's going to be really hard to engage with folks that are beyond that initial curve of, oh, this is really cool technology. So in a lot of instances, we've been able to take the voice of the customer, find out what the real issue problem is, right? What is the emotional component of that? And how do we wrap that narrative into the product? That way, we're storytelling versus data dumping. And So for the example I'm thinking of, right, they had initial market penetration in one market segment, and it seemed to work well because they were highly focused in on technical aspects. Once the story pivoted and became patient focused, became focused on the clinician, it really started to change because it resonated with them. It was answering the not how does this work, but what's the why? Why do I care? What's this going to do for me? And that was a point where we actually started to see market traction, and continued growth, and we're actually later able to do even price increases based off of the improved, I guess, perception of performance from the device.
Yeah, I mean, you make an awesome point, which is we're selling to other people, and at every level of really even a more complex sale, people are asking what's in it for me, and whether that me is them personally or they're representing a group of stakeholders. You have to be, whether it's investors, it's the patient, it's a clinician, you have to be having the conversation from their perspective. I was in a conversation yesterday. I wish this wasn't the case, but without irony, sitting with 3 or 4 engineers on a Zoom call, one of them was trying to extract what is in it for the end user, and they just kept going back to, we have the best feature here. And translating that, and one of them said without irony, well, build it and they will come. And we say that sort of jokingly because we know that there's a mentality there, but it doesn't work. So you've seen a little bit of that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. There's an author, I believe I recently heard this somewhere, so I won't take credit for it at all, but her name is Brene Brown, and she said that stories are just data with a soul. And so even though you might say that you have like this best feature, and if we build the best product ever, folks are going to come, it's like they won't if there's no emotional tie. At the end of the day, I do believe what Edward says around emotion is that we all make emotional decisions, and afterwards we've made the decision, we try to justify it with logic and reason. Oh, well, that was a good idea because of, X, Y, and Z, right? And that the initial point where that decision's made, even before it's verbalized, is due to an emotional reaction. So if you give folks only data and technical stuff, I totally agree, right? Like, you're not going to move forward.
Yeah, and we do see that a lot. So thinking about that, it brings us to, I think, our main discussion point for this particular episode, and that is what I think you and I share a similar philosophy here, which is the most important skill, or the most important tactical element of marketing. And we talked about this the other day, which is copywriting.
Yeah.
Because without it, how do you convey that story? How do you capture that emotion? Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Have you always kind of held that perspective, or is that something that you sort of came to over time?
That's definitely something I came to over time. I think early on, I was almost a little dismissive of some of the copywriting, oh, it's a tagline, or, it's nobody's going to read it anyway. It'll get put in the recycling as soon as you hand it out type stuff. And over time, I think the reason I thought that was because I was probably being a little too wordy in my copywriting, and, you learn lessons over time, right? And once you get the copyright really nailed down, something that resonates, that's concise and communicates sometimes a very complex idea or emotion in a very short amount of words and space, it really does connect a lot better, right? And so copywriting might seem like something that is junior or something that only a specific person does. I happen to think it's one of the most important parts that a marketer does. Words matter. What we say matters. What we write down matters. And so if I go and write only one sentence about a product, that's maybe the only sentence they're going to see and hear about your company, your brand, what the service you're offering, everything, right? It's so encompassing. And if you get it wrong, it doesn't land. And so over the years, it's definitely been something that I've learned some hard lessons about in terms of how do you get some good copyright. And a lot of times I find that it does come from your stakeholders, the audience you're trying to develop. When you go and talk to them, do that voice of customer, a lot of times they're going to give you such great golden little nuggets that you're going to be able to pull away And that way, you said it earlier, that you're speaking in their terms of their language. You're absolutely right. You take it, you pull it, and then you essentially not regurgitate it, but you put it back in the narrative as how it relates to whatever service, product, or offering that you have.
I couldn't agree more. We did, I think voice of customer is key here, because when you actually have a conversation with a user and get them to describe how they're using the product and how they perceive, the benefits or the outcomes, and they do it in their own language. They don't use maybe the industry jargon.
Right.
Maybe a little bit more plainly spoken, which is actually really important. I think people get hung up on using industry language in their marketing copy when people are just really looking for the solution to their problem, and they don't want to have to navigate all of that and sort it out. Even the smartest of people appreciate simple, well written copy. But
Yeah.
I was on a call, a voice of customer call, maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago,
Mhm.
and it's rare, but we had the CEO sit in and listen in on the call, kind of like a fly on the wall. And when we wrapped up that call, he said, I just learned 2 or 3 things that I had no idea, and I've been doing this for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that these were issues for the buyer. Have you ever had an experience before where voice of customer really it had a material impact, maybe on where a product went or where a marketing campaign went?
So there's a couple of examples I can think of. One is a messaging related one, and the other is a product. The product ones I feel like are usually fairly straightforward. And during a voice of customer, it's these little things that sometimes make a big difference. For a product I worked on, it had basically an attachment for holding a component of the device. And we always thought it was fine, it was okay. You know, I'd gone and done a series of voice customer interviews to find out how folks felt about the technology in general. It'd been a while, right? Because once you launch a product, that's you don't stop managing the product, right? You should go back and continually talk to customers. So in doing so, we discovered that folks didn't want to use the equipment. They were frustrated because all these tiny little connectors had broken off. And
Yeah.
it was disappointing frustration. They MacGyvered things. It was such a small little thing. It was enough to discourage them to want to use it, though, and to have a poor perception in terms of quality for that particular product. And had we not gone in and had that voice customer post launch, we would have never been able to figure it out. So it was an easy fix, right? It wasn't something that took a lot of work. We just got a more robust, stronger connector, and that seemed to solve the problem. But capturing that want, that need, that problem that they have wouldn't have happened necessarily had you not gone in and talked into the customer. And it could have happened maybe through like a representative slowly over time, but that's why it's important to keep a regular cadence, right? I think marketing folks should always be out in the field with their sales folks if they're in the life sciences, at a minimum once a quarter, because that's when you could really hear things live, just like you mentioned with the CEO who's on that call. Imagine if you could do that for other folks within the company, it really starts to click and understand the power that marketing can actually bring to an organization.
I think that a key part of marketing is building bridges. And sometimes that's building a mental bridge from, with somebody who has a problem over to, our product as a solution. But often it's about building bridges between the customer and internal teams within these companies,
Yes.
because they do still act very siloed. And the internal teams want the information, they want the
They do.
inputs, but they don't always have a channel to get that. And marketing can often be seen as we need to optimize the SEO for the webpage,
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
well, we should look at how our product is made or designed and get some feedback on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can give you another example. So another example of in which voice customer really made a pretty big impact in messaging was a company I was at. We wanted to find a way to get more differentiation in market. Things become commoditized. It was hard. It was a crowded space, a lot of noise. And so how do we really, separate things out and really make ourselves stand out? And going through and doing a lot of voice of customer, I discovered along the way that there, in this particular instance, a patient segment that was higher acuity, which meant it was more costlier for the hospital. And they would actually save the technology be used on those folks because they said, well, for the majority of folks, this might work okay, but for our sickest patients, our high acuity patients, we really save it for that because we know it actually does work a little better. And I was like, oh, well, that's very interesting. Why does it work better, right? And what do these patients look like that are higher acuity, costlier? So went back, did a lot of research. It ended up being a technology. The answer ended up being kind of a complex technology related thing that had to do with like, fluid dynamics and physics, right? But how do we take that and translate that into a simpler story? Well, the simpler story is you can treat sicker patients than the other folks can with this, right? And that's something that they can't play in. And so it really became a repositioning project due to this information. It changed all of the messaging, it changed the branding, and it changed who we went after, what our wedge strategy was, right? Our lead pin strategy, going in and just getting your foot in the door. And if you went and proved your value with those folks, then you were able to get in and be able to expand later through education, right? And that conversation that I had and the conversation subsequent with these folks who used it on these higher acuity patients, that all happened through voice of customer. I wouldn't have had that information. We wouldn't have made the connection from the technical side, which then wouldn't have impacted the branding, the messaging, the repositioning, all of that, right? And because we did that, it was highly effective. We became highly differentiated in market, and we became, an almost refined, better version of what the commoditized version was. And because of that, it was then a premium position product. So you were able to get a lot more for the product versus a less expensive commodity product.
I like that story a lot, and I wonder, but what happens to the more general population or the commodity market? Did you spin up a separate brand and market under that brand for this specific kind of utility, or did you sort of put it all into optimizing for this more premium market, and then everything else kind of was a pull along?
Yeah, so it was definitely more the latter. Everything kind of became the premium position product, and everything was wrapped into the rebranding, the repositioning, and the messaging that you can go in, right, and treat these higher acuity patients with a less invasive technology and less expensive than more invasive technologies, right? That this was something that was keeping costs down and ultimately comfort, right? And so it was definitely that more of the latter than the former. Everything really wrapped around it. That way there was more of a global and unified message coming from the company versus here's the nice one and here's, the cheap, less, nice one type stuff. There weren't like trim levels and things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
What I've seen sometimes is a hesitancy, a resistance, or maybe fear might be a little bit strong, but a resistance to niching down and really focusing on a premium use case.
Yeah.
Did you run into any resistance with focusing in this area? And if so, how'd you overcome that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. In that instance, we didn't face a lot of resistance internally. There was a little bit, but not a ton. The real resistance came externally in market, where we were introducing new terminology, right, a new framework for thinking about it, which worked to our advantage, right? Because it was like, what is that? It kind of made folks scratch their head and it caught their attention. And so we turned what would seemingly be a weakness into a strength by saying, no, I mean, if it's attention grabber, it's grabbing their attention. Let's use that opportunity then to tell our story. That way we can, move this along. I will say though, at a different company, I was unsuccessful internally. And I'm a big fan of going where you have that unfair competitive advantage, right? And so that's what I think going into these niche markets really is. It's going in an area where only you can play and nobody else. That way you completely dominate it, you win it, and then from there you can expand. Well, this company really had a highly differentiated product and market, and they wanted to make product changes to essentially make it a Me Too product for a much larger player. And I was not aligned with that strategy. I thought, while that's a much bigger market segment and opportunity, you're going against, a healthcare juggernaut that has the deepest pockets you could imagine. And nobody wants, who wants to be, get the Me Too product that is just as expensive, right? When from a company that you might not know as well and not have that level of brand recognition. So, my advice was from a strategic standpoint was let's go where we know we have that unfair competitive advantage, where we know they can't play, and let's win that and let's get that. We're going to be able to grow, modify, and throughout that entire process, all you're doing is building more data, more, testimonials, more collateral that's going to help you win on the other side once you get through this initial market segment. So I wasn't successful there, so I can't share, a story as to how I overcame that. I think, part of the reason why I wasn't successful, I think, is I was a voice of one, so I didn't do probably my good work in that I learned in product management in terms of building consensus with folks. But it was an interesting ride. I think ultimately there's both strategies could work. It was a matter of time and money on how you get there, right? You could dump in a ton of money and spend a ton of time and be successful, but a lot of startups don't have that. Their people and their time are their most precious materials. And so who's going to want to spend that much time to go against something so hard and go against that when there's a much easier direct path?
Yeah. And we're being super general because we just want to protect identities and confidentiality, but I hear what you're saying. I want to chime in too and say that we've run into exactly the same thing. So, working with a company that had a core technology and some very clear advantages over huge industry leaders.
Yeah.
And there was, through business leadership, really a focus on one particular feature of the competitive product that their product simply didn't have. And at maybe the expense of other things. They focused entirely on building up that one weak point. It wasn't successful without getting into the details. But we learned before making this big decision, we learned that through voice of the customer didn't care about that particular feature. They had what we would call a Band-Aid that they did instead. And they did that even with a larger competitive product, even though that product had that feature, they used the Band-Aid also there as well. So they just didn't really consider the customer's perspective. They didn't consider strategically where they were strong and where they could lead and win. And they, I think in my opinion, and the data supports it, that they sort of suffered from that. They had this focus on improving a feature that they saw as a weakness, and just kind of disregarded when the customer said, "Listen, we have a Band-Aid for that. We do something else entirely." Even with the competing product that is the big juggernaut, they have that feature. We have the Band-Aid for that too. We just don't, we just do our own thing. So you don't focus on that. That's not important to us, yet they did.
Yeah. This is so common though. I feel like we've probably both seen it so much, and especially in smaller startups, right? Where folks get so focused in on the competition that they can't see all the space around them that they can go play in, right? And it's, they do a SWOT, they see the weaknesses. It's just so easy to focus in on things that you perceive as being negative when, I've seen companies take things that as a competitor to them, we're like, well, this is why this is bad. And that's why they take that weakness. And I've seen them market it as a complete strength, right? And it sometimes can be a masterclass in positioning, right? And messaging when you see a competitor where you're out talking about, well, this is what's wrong with that. And they come back and they say, well, actually, no, this is why to benefit. And they, it's a lot of back and forth.
I think an important thing to remember is that while you're probably beholden to investors or a board, that neither of those will be happy, or they just won't see it as a success if you can't get customers to buy. And if you're not meeting the needs, if you're focusing on, on solving problems that customers just don't perceive as problems, then you're not going to be successful.
Yeah.
You need to, especially in this market, you have to be solving real problems and then make it very clear and easy to sort of build that bridge between their need or the problem and how you're solving it. And
Yeah.
I don't see that as much as I would expect to.
And I feel like I see the problems seem to be bigger, right, over time. It's the problem that you have to solve, just having a better mousetrap isn't enough, right? They're
Right.
like, that isn't a big enough problem for me to go and switch to, right? It has to be something that seems to boil up enough or has that really intense emotional connection, which is why I always fall back to the storytelling. And if we tell stories that make it emotional, then you're going to be able to, win and connect with people and your audience.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's a good point. Are there any key takeaways, like lessons learned, quick best practice, or something to avoid at all costs?
You've already heard me say it a million times, but best story wins every time. Make it emotional, connect with your audience, and talk to your audience, right? If you're not talking to your audience, how do you expect to speak their language and be able to provide them something that is solving an issue or problem that they have? If you're not using this, you need a common lexicon. And so go talk to them, pull that voice customer in, and make sure that you're connecting with them and making that emotional tie. So always with me, best story wins every day.
I love that, and I'll just tack on to that. People listening can think about the last time they were out considering a purchase, and the text, the copy that they were reading, just didn't line up with the way they think about and they describe, and they talk about the product or the industry. There's a
Mm-hmm.
disconnect there. It creates a minor unsettling, effect, and you want to avoid that. You want to speak the same language as your peers, as it relates to their problems and their needs. And so that's a big deal.
Absolutely. You just even spurred a second thought there that it does get back to that point around, I think, a lot of insider language. You can avoid insider language by going talking to the audience you want to engage, right? And if you use their, it might sound more colloquial, and that's fine, I think, right? It doesn't always have to be technical, or if it's, an institution that has, a fancy air to it, speak in plain, simple language. That way everyone can understand and everyone can connect. We all have emotions, so let's tap into those.
The market doesn't judge your product based on the length of the words you use to describe it. They're entirely basing it on, does this fit my needs and can I plug it in to our healthcare system or our environment tomorrow? I
Right.
did actually remember one more thing, the idea of the influence of investors in the board.
Mm.
Sometimes we may want to head down a certain path because that, getting more into a niche market can where we can dominate, like a blue ocean,
Mm-hmm.
um, can put us in a position to win. However, on paper, maybe those numbers don't look as good as going after the big generalized market. And so instead of focusing on where we can win and land and expand, what we do instead is we just beat our head up against the brick wall of, incumbent, of
Mm-hmm.
institutional, bulk purchasing agreements and those
Right.
sorts of things. So I think it's a challenge that a lot of smaller, startups really, really struggle with.
Yeah, I think they do. And, I promise it'll be the last time I bring it up, but that's where I think internally marketers need to do a better job of telling the story to their boards and investors because they see the numbers, but it's just like that quote earlier, right? Stories are data with the soul. They see the data. Oh my gosh, this is so much bigger than this. Why would you ever go after that? Well, there's a story there, right? And so let's tell that story and walk you through that. That way they can relate to it. And I'd recently had this experience with a company that I was consulting for where we presented to an angel group of investors. And the whole talk started off with an emotional component talking about a personal experience that an individual had that helped, that was the catalyst for developing this technology and the product, right? And afterwards, that investor came up and said, I had a family member who experienced the exact same thing. I'd invest you guys in a heartbeat. I want you to come present, and he said, it's all because of that emotional tie. I see a million different pitches every single day that is so focused in on total accessible market and, it's all numbers, data, charts, but you guys brought in emotion. And so that was validating, right? Of course, and felt great, but also, I think it's just a valuable lesson for everyone to hear, right? It's important to not just take these learned lessons and apply them to external markets, but remember there's customers internally and externally, and selling those internal customers can be just as equally important, especially if they're a board or investors. So if you're spending their money, probably good to give them the time to tell them the good story on how you're going to get to a win.
Absolutely. All right, Glenn. Appreciate it.
Right.
Thank you.
Of course. It's always a pleasure.
So if you're a life science leader or product manager and you have an interesting story you'd like to share, reach out to me on LinkedIn and we'll connect. If you're interested in learning some other lessons in marketing for life sciences or in avoiding some of the big mistakes, I cover a lot of that in my LinkedIn newsletter. So I'll drop the links to those in the description below. That's it. That's the end.